Hello and welcome back. You may have heard about the recent layoffs where employees are being labeled as redundant because AI can perform in that role. Now, regardless if companies are actually using AI versus just offshoring those roles is another conversation. But a conversation that I feel like is not being had is how these employees are potentially being let go because of AI. They're now applying to new jobs and they're interviewing with none other than AI. His caption for this video says, POV, after months of trying, you finally land an interview with your dream job, and this happens.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining the interview today. I am so excited to talk to you and get to know more about you. For our first question, let's circle back. Tell me about a time when. Let's circle back. Tell me about a time when. Let's circle back. Tell me about a time when.
I think the internet's breaking up or something.
Tell me about a time when. Let's circle back. Tell me about a time when. Let's circle back. Tell
Just
me about
repeating.
a time
I don't.
Let's circle back. Tell me about a time.
I don't even know what to do.
Let's. Tell me about a time when. Let's circle back. Tell me about a time when. Let's. Our interview. Thank you so much for answering the questions. I got a lot of great information
I didn't get to answer a question.
and it was really nice to meet you. We will be sending you a follow-up email here shortly about the interview and the next steps.
I can only imagine how depressing this was. Applying for jobs is already so demoralizing. You spend all the time searching for jobs, and then when you finally find a job, you edit your resume so that it includes the keywords so that it can pass the applicant tracking system. And you may do this for every job you come across, and then you tailor your cover letter for all of these roles just to end up applying through Workday, which requires you to manually input all of your information, even though it's available on your LinkedIn, it's available on your resume, but no, they want you to manually include all of your information into the form to only be rejected 30 minutes later. But now we have a new low where we are literally getting accepted for an interview and we're being interviewed by an AI that then malfunctions. Imagine all of the time and effort this person put into this interview. He's wearing a suit and a tie. I'm sure he practiced his answers. I'm sure he wrote down questions for the interviewer. Not only does it look like he came prepared, but I can only imagine the emotional toll that this took on this person because he says, this was my dream interview. A lot of people were requesting that he make a follow-up to this, and he did.
About 30 minutes to about an hour after the interview, I get an email from the company, and I'm just going to read you the email and what it says, because I think that might actually be funnier than the actual interview. So the plot thickens. I get an email saying, thank you for interviewing with us, and it says, hi, Henry. My name isn't Henry, so a new character has been added into this. I don't know who Henry is. It says, I hope you're doing well. It was truly such a pleasure meeting you yesterday. Okay, I had such a great time speaking with you and learning more about your background, your goals, and your passion for storytelling. Okay, you have such a wonderful energy and personality. It made the interview an enjoyable and memorable experience. Y'all saw the interview. Was this memorable and enjoyable? Did we talk about my story and my passion? Like, I'm confused. Let's continue reading. After careful consideration, we have decided to move forward with other candidates for the news reporter position at this time. Please note this decision was not easy as you made a strong impression. I bet I did. We will be keeping your application on file should future opportunities arise that align with your talents. I genuinely appreciate the time you took to speak with me, and I just want to say again how nice it was to meet you. You are a truly good person, and I believe there is so much success ahead for you in the future. Wishing you all the best in your career endeavors. Keep trying to call. I can't get anyone on the phone. It's confusing. Just remember, if you're trying to find a job, you're competing with AI right now. I don't really know what's going on.
Not only does he interview with a malfunctioning AI, they then call him the wrong name. They say the interview was yesterday when it was the same day. And I'm pretty sure reading the email that it was generated by AI, it's always a dead giveaway when there's a hyphen. And not only that, they say, I genuinely appreciate the time you took to speak with me. What? You didn't speak to him. You let an AI malfunctioning bot try its best to speak with a human, but nobody spoke to this person. So what do you mean you genuinely appreciate his time? No, you wasted his time. Recently, I've been criticizing capitalism a little bit, basically tech under capitalism, to explain why things like this are happening. And I have people try to argue with me that capitalism leads to innovation, and I can agree with that to an extent, because I'm not against entrepreneurship. I'm not against owning a business. What I'm against is pushing your profits to this extreme level every quarter, needing more and more growth that is just not possible. And it leads to companies deploying whatever you want to call this malfunctioning AI to lay off potentially all or part of their HR department. That is not innovation. Does this look like innovation? I tried to find out what company this was, but he did not disclose that, and that makes perfect sense. I mean, he's trying to find a job. Why would he hinder his ability to find a job by kind of outing this company? But I feel like if we don't call out these companies to some degree, this will become our new interviewing and HR practice. Is this really what we want?
So I had a call-in interview today after applying to almost 300 places, and I was so excited. I practiced. I even got dressed for the phone interview, only for the phone to be answered by an AI system. An AI system. Okay, so I even interrupted the interview to ask if it was an AI system. And you know what it told me? It said, "You're keen, you're smart. Yes, you figured it out. I am an AI system." Yeah, I could have told a human being that I was smart for the job. Yeah, that I should be hired. Anyways, after the interview, I get a text message saying, "Hey, Dorette, we still have time slots for the interview if you're interested." Guess I'm going to follow my dreams, people, because this is not working out.
I feel so sorry for people who are applying to jobs right now. Applying for jobs has always been hard, but I feel like now the economy is not good. We have AI. I feel like we are reaching this. And I'm not trying to be a doomy person right now. These are just my thoughts. But I feel like there's so many things going on in society right now, so many systemic problems, and they're all compounding to a point that I don't know that it's going to be reversible. Again, I'm not trying to be doomsy. I generally try to look at the good in most situations. I'm just finding it hard recently to do that because of things like this. And while I feel really bad for the people who are applying to these jobs, I also feel really bad for the HR departments, the employees that work at these companies where the company says, we're going to bring on this AI, this tool that will allow you to do these screening interviews much more efficiently. Think of the efficiency, right? That's how it's always pitched. They always say it will, do the mundane tasks for you so that you can focus on being more creative. When in reality, I'm sure what was previously pitched to them as a tool has now replaced a lot of them. In the first guy's video, he talked about how they not only called him the wrong name, they referred to the wrong date of when the interview was, and now she is explaining how the company sent her a reminder saying, don't forget to set an interview when she already interviewed. Is this efficiency?
Touch Besley, it's 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 touch Besley, let's touch Besley, it's touch Besley, it's touch.
Why does it sound like a German sim becoming more distressed over time? I find this funny from the angle of knowing that these companies must be spending so much money to use this AI and it's now malfunctioning. Otherwise, it's super depressing. It's just so crazy to think about where we are now in this timeline. Like when I was 16, you could still ask for a job application at some companies. Monster was a thing at the time. But when I applied for Kohl's, it was a paper application. I was able to fill it out and I asked to speak with the hiring manager. I spoke with him and he asked me to come back the next day for an interview. I did 2 interviews and I was hired. It was that simple. Now we've progressed to applying for jobs on LinkedIn and Indeed with all of these ghost applications because these companies want to make it appear that they are growing and so they're hiring when in actuality they have no intention of hiring. So people are getting their hopes up, tailoring their resume with the keywords, applying to these jobs that don't actually exist because they have no intentions of hiring, only to be rejected 30 minutes later or you are put into an interview, but thanks to the pandemic, we now have Zoom meetings where we interview over video, and that takes a long time to get used to. I remember my first video interview, it was really offsetting because, again, it's hard to be personable looking at your screen. I mean, it's similar to right now. It's hard to be personable to a camera lens that I'm just staring into. Now, we've progressed here where it's now with an AI. It's so unpersonable. Where is the human connection in all of this? I recently did a video where I commented on the statements made by the CEO of Duolingo, where he was defending the company and himself, claiming that he cares about his employees, even though he's decided to go AI first, which effectively means humans second. And he kept using this rhetoric like he cares so much about the employees. What are you going on about? Does this look like care? I'm sure the CEO of all of these companies say the exact same thing. We care about our employees. We're a family here. No, you don't care. You didn't care to take the time to get to know someone in person or not, even just video call. A video call is better than this. Interviewing with an AI. It's becoming so much harder for these companies to keep claiming that they care so much when it's becoming more clear every day that we're just a cog in the machine.
AI is taking over, because I had an interview the other day. It was on Teams. The meeting has started and I'm being interviewed by one person, but I can also see that it's being recorded. From the get-go, the interview felt a bit off. That's because when I joined the call, after the initial, "Hi, how are you? I'm good, thanks. How are you?" It then went into very direct questions. "Where are you based? What was your last job?" Just very almost interrogation. 15, 20 minutes later, I received an email that says my report is ready, from an AI thing, and it's regarding the interview that I just had with this person. I open up this email and it is the recording of the interview. It's recorded both me and the interviewer. It is an AI software that was monitoring my facial expressions, my tone of voice, and scoring me. I'll probably put on the screen what I got. I got scored for engagement, scored for sentiment, and an overall reading score of probably just how you compare to the average, or I don't know what the average or the benchmarks are. I'm kind of understanding why the interviewer was asking such direct statement questions. Either because those questions were being for him coming up on the screen and he was just repeating it, or also because he was trying to create this neutral environment where the AI was going to read things, so he didn't really have to put in that effort. I don't know what it was, but that interview felt weird. For all I know, I might have been talking to an AI person. They haven't told me anything in terms of the software they're using and the AI that they're generating and what they're going to do with that recording or anything.
This is slightly different from the other AI interviews we've seen, and I wish she would have said which software this was, that way we could dive into it. But it's still really strange and really alarming that these companies are not disclosing that they're interviewing with some type of AI and it's being recorded, because I am 99% sure that these recordings will be used to train the AI. People are not consenting to this. People are not consenting to interviewing with some AI. They're not consenting to being recorded. They're not consenting to having their face and their voice recorded and potentially used to train an AI. I mean, imagine if the AI deems her looks and her voice to be aesthetically pleasing, and they then use her voice to do interviews with other people, right? Like in the previous AI interviews we saw, maybe they use her voice as the interviewer. It's wild to think about, but that's what is happening right now. And it's so crazy that this is where we are today in the timeline of everything going on in the world. When I was researching this video topic, I kept seeing the argument come up that people think that this will be an unbiased way to potentially interview candidates. And I find it hard to completely agree with that sentiment. As a developer, a bias that I experience is male interviewers assuming that I want to work on the front end. For those who don't know what the front end is, you can think of it as basically everything you interact with on a website. So when you make a purchase on a website, or when you input your information into a form, that is the front end. In the industry, it is more common for women to work on the front end, but what I've noticed is that only tends to be because that's kind of the stereotype. a lot of women, and I've worked with some amazing women that don't want to do front end, myself included. I prefer back end, the back end being the parts that you don't see on a website. So when you do input information into a form, that information is being sent to the back end, and some business logic or something's happening with that information. And in my opinion, that's where a lot of the fun is, because there's a lot of challenges that come with the back end, and so it allows you to be creative in your solutions. There's been 2 separate occasions where I interview with a male interviewer. I explain to him what I like about coding, and I will even be asked, do I prefer front end or back end? And I always say back end. There's parts that I like about front end, but overall I would prefer to work on the back end. And tell me why every time these people, they want to put me on the front end of their team. I specifically had this one guy say, oh, I think you would be a great fit for our front end team. Why? I just explained to you all the reasons why I prefer back end, but because I'm a woman, you want me to do front end? That's a bias. Another bias I see specifically with AI is when I ask it to generate code, it always assumes I'm a male, because statistically there are more men working as developers. I don't see AI solving this bias issue. I think it can to some extent, but we as humans are training these AIs and we're applying our biases to these AIs. And if we've learned anything at this point, it's that bias and ethics are not at the forefront of AI development at this point. This next one says, when you have an interview, but AI starts interviewing the other AI.
40%.
Am I not the one
That's
being
impressive. What coding languages are you most comfortable with?
I'm proficient in Python, JavaScript.
Oh, come on.
Final questions for us?
No, you...
Thanks, you will start on Monday.
Huh?
No, I will start on Monday.
Wait, what?
Thank you for interviewing with us today.
Thank you for coming to this interview.
We appreciate your interest in our company.
We appreciate you taking the time to meet with us.
What is going on?
We'll be in touch about next steps.
We'll let you know our decision soon.
Have a great day.
Great day.
Great day.
Great day.
Great day.
Great day.
These are actual people trying to get hired. These are actual people trying to interview with what they think is an actual person. And this is what's happening. It is so mind-blowing to me. What episode of Black Mirror are we on? What happens with bad actors? What happens with people who inject prompts and get the AI to hire them? Can these people then find a loophole and, from a legal standpoint, actually be able to make the company hire them? Like, I'm just wondering about all of the legality of these things, in which I don't know the legality of these things, but I feel like there must be loopholes in the law that would make some of this not legal. Like, it's already unethical, but this also has to be, to some degree, putting these companies in perhaps a legal situation that they can't get out of. My other thought with all of these videos is that if you interview with a company and they use AI as the interviewer, you don't want to work there. They don't respect you before you even work there. So imagine how they will treat you if you do work there.
I'm just saying, if I apply to a job and they give me an AI person interview, I'm crashing out. Part of me is also like, why would I want to work for a company that doesn't want to have a face-to-face conversation? I just think there's something evil about it. There's something sinister.
I agree with all of her points. As I've been saying, these companies that are using this AI are being so disrespectful. They're not respecting people's time. If the company doesn't want to take the time to get to know you and to understand if you would be a good fit for the team, but not only that, give you an opportunity to learn about the company, to understand, do you want to work there? Maybe it's not a good fit for you. If they don't want to do that, then it's not worth the time of even interviewing with these companies. I see the argument online people are making that AI is not efficient enough or intelligent enough to be taking people's jobs. And while I can agree to that to a certain extent, that really doesn't matter, because these CEOs are still using it as a way to lay off people and then to not hire people, because essentially they want to have these core teams and they want to allow AI to make them more efficient with less employees, so around like 1,000 or 3,000 employees, and they don't plan to hire anymore. So effectively they are, in essence, not laying off, but they're doing the reverse. They're not hiring, and that's making people not have the opportunity to work at that company. And while AI may not be super efficient for every role right now, it is getting better. I mean, if you look at ChatGPT when it first started, even as an LLM versus what it is today, it is profoundly better. And to think that it's not going to over time become better and better, I think is a fallacy, especially when you look at all of the research, all of the money that is going into this. It will get there. And so my concern now is that we're just now seeing the effects of what that looks like. And I think it will change over time. But where we are now in the timeline is that companies want to have these core teams be more efficient and essentially not hire, which will lead to the initial job loss. And we still see layoffs still happening in the industry. I just don't think we're at the stage yet where it will be these massive layoffs. I think the best thing that we can do is decline these interviews with these AI interviewers, but I understand that that's not realistic. When we live in a society with all of these systemic problems where you have people being laid off and having to live off of their savings, it's not realistic to ask these people not to interview with these companies. And the employers know that. That's why they're already able to get away with these things. This one says, first time doing an AI interview. Y'all, I'm so cooked, I can't take this seriously.
Theoretical approach to using breakout rooms to foster collaborative learning in an online language class.
Certainly, I think that breakout rooms are an excellent chance for students to be able to work with one another.
Job interviews are already stressful because you know you're going into a situation where there's at least one person who is basically going to judge you. You're not only getting judged on minuscule things like your first and your last name, but you're also getting judged on things like, what does your hair look like? Do you need a haircut? Are you wearing makeup? Are you wearing too much makeup? Are you wearing glasses? Do you look professional enough in your attire? Do you have an accent? How well did you articulate yourself? If you look nervous, are you smiling? Do you seem excited enough to be in the job interview? All of which have nothing to do with your skills and your experience. When I listen to her speak, and this is just my opinion, and it has nothing to do with her voice or anything like that, but I get the impression that she's over-articulating for the simple fact that she knows she is interviewing with an AI and she wants to make sure her words are being clear. I don't think this is her natural way of speaking. If she was speaking with a real person, I don't think she would speak this way. So it's just this extra layer of being uncomfortable. She even says that she cannot take this seriously, and that makes sense because she knows she's not speaking to a real person. Imagine all of the new grads graduating right now, and this will be their first experience with interviewing. Is that really what we want?
Hello, I'm Alex, the recruiter at Club Pilates. Thank you for taking the time to interview today. As a sales associate at Club Pilates, you'll be working the front desk. Your main tasks include reaching out to leads, inviting them for an introductory Pilates class, and guiding them through our membership options to sign them up. This position heavily involves sales, so we seek someone with strong multitasking skills and a collaborative spirit. Does this align with what you're looking for?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Great. Let's dive in.
Again, it's just so heartbreaking to see these people sit in these interviews knowing that she woke up, did her hair, did her makeup, picked out a nice outfit. She may have even scheduled things around this interview. She may be doing this interview on her lunch break. And these companies literally have the audacity to make you interview with AI, to sit and waste your time with an AI interviewer. And it doesn't seem like this one malfunctioned, which great, I guess. But at least we now know that Club Pilates is one of these companies who are using these AI interviewers, and we can choose to avoid these companies now. This next one says, when they try to have you talk to AI for an interview rather than a real person.
Pilates vertical bar, Pilates hop. No, Pilates vertical bar, 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 Pilates. I Pilates vertical bar, Pilates vertical bar, Pilates vertical bar Pilates, vertical bar Pilates, vertical bar Pilates, vertical bar Pilates to Pilates, vertical bar 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 Pilates, vertical.
The disrespect. A few interesting things came out of me watching this clip. One, I learned that I in fact did not know what a vertical bar was. I saw in the output of the AI that it was using the tall slash symbol, which for me, I would call that a pipe or an OR operator because I write code, and in code, that's what they're called. They have functionality in the code you write. But I had to Google to understand that that slash is called a vertical bar in the English language. She also says this was genuinely so creepy and weird, and I agree. What are you supposed to do? If you're sitting in this interview and it starts malfunctioning, do you leave? Do you hope it fixes itself. Like, you don't want to miss out on the opportunity, right? So like, you don't want to cancel and leave the meeting, but at the same time, what are you expected to do here? Another thing we learn is that she is also interviewing at Club Pilates, and that the interviewer, the AI interviewer that she is interviewing with, is called Alex. And so I was able to look at her screen and figure out that this software is called Apriora. I think that's how you pronounce the company. So I wanted to take a look at their company website. I have their website pulled up, and straight from the jump, it says a better way to interview. Is it? I think we've already proven that it's a horrible way to interview. They have this video playing, and I can't pause it, but it dives into the kind of usage of the platform. So I want to put a screenshot here so that we can actually see what's happening. So it says interview score 93, and then it gives some feedback on these different programming languages that she knows. It then says Sophie versus applicant pool. It judges Sophie's knowledge versus everybody else in the applicant pool on her knowledge of JavaScript, Python, her communication skills, and her full stack experience. Kind of interesting. It then says screen more candidates. Engage every candidate with live two-way conversations so you never miss out on a great hire. That's just not true. We've seen how horrible those interviews went, and it had nothing to do with the interviewees and all to do with the interviewer. Does anyone truly think that Club Pilates is going to review these interviews and recommend that they reschedule with an actual person? It's not going to happen. I clicked on learn more about the product. It then says learn how autonomous AI will drive results for your organization. Screen 8 times more candidates. Some of the best candidates are busy during work hours. Engage more quality candidates by allowing them to interview with Alex at the time that works best for them, including nights and weekends. Be so for real right now. You're wanting people to interview after their long day of work? You're wanting them to interview on the weekends? The only time they have away from work? Hire 87% faster. Alex can interview multiple candidates at once, so you can screen your candidates without worrying about double booking or schedule conflicts. This is why AI was never about being a tool for humans to be more efficient. It was always about replacement, because AI doesn't have to sleep. It's not overworked. It doesn't need a coffee to perform in the morning. When these companies say efficiency, what they really mean is replacement. Interview 93% cheaper. Engage more candidates with interview reminders, scheduling deadlines, and follow-up cadences to maximize top of funnel. Yeah, hire 93% cheaper because you laid off your HR department in favor of a malfunctioning AI. The only part of this that really makes sense to me is setting up reminders and deadlines for potential candidates, but you don't need this software for that. If you have engineers working for you, this could be easily set up. This is all pretty depressing in my opinion, and it makes me really sad that we're reaching the point in this timeline, or that we even want to go down on this timeline, that we have people celebrating the fact that we're going down this timeline. So I wanted to end on a bit of a funny note and highlight how humans are so good at finding humor in depressing situations, all while expressing themselves creatively. Lately, I've been making videos about how tech shapes our lives, from CEOs hyping up AI to companies using empowerment marketing, claiming they're empowering the customer when they're really exploiting them. I've received a lot of great feedback on this style of video, and it seems a lot of you enjoy this type of analysis, which is really great for me because I enjoy talking about it. I have many video ideas, so if you're into that kind of analysis, please consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.